Welcome back to part 3 of our Vibe Coding 2.0 masterclass with Cursor and Claude Code. I'm Craig Hewitt. Today we're going to continue on with our accountability buddy kind of project. Okay, so today we're doing two things. We're connecting to Git and GitHub to push our code to GitHub for version control, and we're going to add the 3 questions that we want to ask, which are the goals for the user for the coming week. So let's do the questions first, and then once we're done with that, we'll basically be done with the first version of this, and we'll push it to GitHub. We may even get it live in this video. It might be tomorrow, though. Okay, so here in Claude Code, I'm just going to describe what I want to do. Okay, so pretty straightforward prompt here. After the user completes the onboarding questions, I want them to proceed to another screen that asks them for their 3 biggest goals for the week. Create this page, the routes, etc., if necessary, and store those in the database for the user. It should have all of the context because we have both a plan.md file, which is just, this is a plan for the document, and a claude.md, which is Claude's version that it created for this project specifically. So plan.md I created, and this is how we got the very first part of this project started. And then claude.md, something that Claude created by running /init. And so you notice I hit like /clear. There's a bunch of slash commands, and we'll talk about those in a minute. We probably should have used /plan for this actually, but that's okay. /plan kind of lets you talk to Claude Code without it writing code. Okay, so it has its first set of proposed changes here. So the left side is old, the right side is new. And so what it's doing is adding in 3 different goals into the database. This is the model, right? The model is kind of like the interface between the application and the database. So that looks correct. Yep. So I have 3 goals I want to create, and that's what it's saying. That's cool. So just like in the previous videos, when we create something on a web application, we have the HTML, the CSS, and the JavaScript. Then we also have like the model, if it's going to store data, the database rows, and the routes in the application. So cool. Yep. Similarly, returning this. Yep, that sounds good. So 3 goals. Okay, so site goal is what they're calling this, the goal setting kind of structure, probably table. Yep, that all looks good. So I guess like vibe coding, maybe it's just watching Cursor come up with, or Claude Code come up with stuff and me saying, yep, that looks good. I don't know, like drop a comment in below if you think if this is interesting. I think this is gonna be cool because we're gonna see the whole thing be done. Okay, cool. So now we have the routes, right? This is how to tell the application what pages to go to, and that's cool. And then, so it's creating the page, and then it's creating the post, which stores the stuff that they enter into the database. That is great. And now it's probably going to create the routes, the actual route in the routes file, and then it's going to create the page, I would bet. Creating HTML page template. So it's going to create the HTML on the page, then it's going to create the CSS, which is like the styling, and then the JavaScript, which is like it does stuff. Cool, that's great. By the way, you may pick this up. I renamed this from my founder pal to Catalyst. So if you want to sign up for this accountability tool, it's going to be entirely free. Catalyst.craighewitt.com. Hopefully we have a landing page up that we can show you by the end of this video. And by the time this video is live, you 100% will be able to go sign up, tell me a bit about yourself, and enter your goals, and I will be your accountability buddy in a virtual way going forward. Okay, great. So that's the CSS. That's kind of the styling of like a heading and a paragraph and forms and stuff like that. Now it's JavaScript, so like when you click a button, it actually does stuff. That'll be done in just a minute. And we will have the page, and we can go through the whole onboarding process again and test things out. Okay, great. So JavaScript is the stuff that happens on a page. And so that's good. So we're just assuming this is all right because Claude Code is pretty smart and is a better developer than me. What will be cool is if it's wrong, we'll see. And we'll be able to debug it from there. Okay, cool. So we talked about routes. So now when somebody clicks the message from the onboarding page, they're going to be redirected to goals. Perfect. Right. So the flow will be email address, onboarding, which is like 2 questions, and then 3 goals that they want to achieve this week. And then hopefully a thank you page. It'll be interesting to see if Claude Code remembered to add that at the end. Database migration. So actually creating the tables in the database. Yep. Error, Python not found. You gotta be kidding me. So we'll see if it's able to handle this itself. It should be able to handle this. This is a pretty straightforward problem, so it should be able to handle this itself. Maybe we didn't have the virtual environment activated. That would be a problem. We talked about virtual environment before, a virtual environment being a way to set up your computer to look and feel exactly like a server that would be in the cloud, like Amazon Web Services or Heroku or DigitalOcean. You got to host this stuff somewhere, and the goal is to make your environment look exactly like that so that when you push it to production, a whole bunch of stuff doesn't break, because a whole bunch of stuff breaks all the time. Okay, so a new version of pip is available. Pip is like a package manager for Python. So you may have heard of like Node.js. Node.js is a package manager for JavaScript things. Pip is a similar thing for Python, so it had to update that. Now we have to upgrade the database and do the migration. So I think we're actually making progress. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I think we're making progress, and this whole thing should be done here in just a few minutes. Okay, great. So user completes onboarding questions, redirected to initial goals, enters the goals are stored, combines the text stored in goals text for backward compatibility, redirect to thank you page. Great. That all looks great. Okay, so now let's tell it to run. So this is going to be where it creates something like 127.5.00 or whatever. Yep, so create the virtual environment and run the application. So Flask is the Python framework for, you might have heard of like Ruby on Rails or something. Flask is the Python framework that we're using here. Cool. So hit Command C or Command click on my keyboard, and I'm just going to get rid of all these other things because these are not necessary anymore. This is from our first video. Okay, cool. So this is awesome. So I'm going to enter an email address, and we still have that bug where we can't do a plus in the email, but we'll work on that later. Okay, so onboarding, tell me about your role. I am a founder. GitHub is my biggest struggle because, as you'll see in a minute, it's kind of complicated. And how did you hear about this from YouTube? Cool, awesome. And now it should be, what are your 3 biggest goals for the week? Be specific and actionable will help you stay on track. Cool, and it even has a placeholder, ship MVP, complete 20 customer discovery calls, and hire a senior engineer. Awesome, okay. Okay, awesome, those are my goals. I'll hit submit. Goals submitted, redirecting. Okay, you're all set. Welcome to Catalyst. We'll be in touch soon with next steps. Okay, check your inbox for a welcome email. Your first prompt will be next Sunday. Get ready to crush your goals. Okay, cool. So I feel really good about this. This does kind of everything that I want it to do. Let's go back to cursor and just see if there's anything here that we need to be aware of. Nope, cool. Okay, great. So that all worked well. Now let's push all this to GitHub. And so just for context, we'll open up github.com. I won't even try to explain GitHub beyond just this. GitHub is a place to store the code for your application, and you can push it to GitHub from your computer up to GitHub, and then you can pull it from GitHub to places like Amazon Web Services or DigitalOcean. So it's like Google Drive for code. Also can do things like version control and branching and collaborating with people on code. So it's just like how people work with code. And version control being really cool, like we would have had a kind of checkpoint leading up to today. And if we come in here and mess a whole bunch of stuff up, if Claude Code just goes off the rails and screws everything up, we can just basically trash all of that and revert back to a kind of known good point, which was the beginning of today. And so what we'll do is we'll set up Git to create a checkpoint right now because the onboarding flow works. So we're kind of done with this piece of work. Then we'll push it to GitHub and view it in the browser. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go away and sign into my GitHub account, and then we're going to figure out how to push this up to GitHub. Okay. Actually, okay, so let's just assume we have no idea how to do this, and let's just ask Claude Code, say, hey, great, I want to set up Git and push to GitHub. So as simple as that, great. Set up Git for this project and push to GitHub repository. Git being a thing on your computer, GitHub being the website that we're pushing this to. Okay, so bash command is git init. Yep, sounds good. I know how this works, but I'm kind of double checking it here. Okay, so it's creating Git, which is version control for this project. So all that stuff I talked about, branching and all this, you would do on your computer, and you could do in the browser as well. Cool. Okay. Do you want to make this edit to .gitignore? Sure. git ignore is like some things we don't change. And so it just ignores that from a version control perspective. So we'll just assume that that's right. Okay, so git add dot means add all of the stuff that's in this project to the Git repository locally on your computer. Yep, I want to do that. And now it'll have a message with this, like initial project setup or something like that. Cool. Okay, so git commit m, which means message, initial commit Catalyst founder accountability software with all of this stuff generated with Claude Code. That's so nice. Do you want to proceed? So this just being a descriptive kind of thing. Going forward, each one we create would be like the one, if we just were talking about the 3 questions, it would be added 3 goal setting questions and did the database migration. That would probably be what it is. But since it's the first one, it kind of has everything that we've done so far. Do you want to proceed? Yeah, sure. I sure do. Okay, so this is creating a way to keep track of our code on our local computer. Once this is done and we have Git and we have committed this, we will create exactly this, a repository in GitHub. Okay. Cool. This I don't know, but you know what? We're just going to go with it. I don't think that it knows where to create this. GitHub CLI is not installed. Let me create the repository manually with the instructions. Yeah, so I'd rather do this. Okay, cool. So we're going to go to github.com/new, create a new repository, call it Catalyst, and make it private. I agree. Then run this. Okay, so that makes sense. So I'm going to go back to the browser and we'll sign into GitHub. Cool, so I just signed into GitHub. If you don't have an account, sign up, it's free. And I'll create a new repository. And what did it say to call this Catalyst? And let's just double check that we did this right. So github/new, create a new repository, call it Catalyst, make it private, and then run this. Okay, so let's go back here, make this private. We do have a git ignore. I'm not sure about this. We'll just let this decide what to do. And then we'll give this a description. So creating this repository, GitHub, entirely free. So get an account if you don't have one. And I think we want to do this. Git remote add origin this. I think that's what we want it to do. Git remote add origin this URL, catalyst/git. Yep. Okay, cool. So that's what we're going to do. Now, you need to have some security in place so just not anybody can push to this. So I think it doesn't know that I have access to GitHub, but we'll see. Do I want to run? Yeah, okay. So that's interesting. So I was running Claude Code and I want to run a bash command. Okay, cool. So that worked. And so now let's go back to these git push u origin main, branch m main and push u. Yep. Okay. So it wants to create this main branch and push to origin main. Yep. That's cool. And so when it does this, right. So it doesn't know that I have the kind of right to do this. And honestly, this is one of the most complicated things about software is having this. I'm going to do this one. So we'll just tell it to do option 1 because I have used GitHub before. And so I have this SSH key on my computer and it should be working. And if you're a developer, you're probably watching this and be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this guy can't do this. And so we'll git push origin main again, new branch main. Okie doke, cool. Okay, so that should work. So if we come back here, refresh, hello, okay. Awesome, great. Okay, so in this video, we created a whole new page with routes and styling and all that to collect the 3 weekly goals that our founders or CEOs are gonna input that they want accountability and to keep track of. And we pushed to a private GitHub repository that we created, and we have Git on our computer. Cool. So now something for you is I would come down here and ask Claude Code just to explain Git and GitHub for you. So like Claude Code isn't just a thing that does code. You can ask it questions like this and it should give you good answers, maybe even a little more coherent than me, right? Okay, so I asked it to explain Git and GitHub. So it says Git and GitHub are 2 related but different tasks. So I would just encourage you to run this, right? Git is version control system, runs on computer. It's like a time machine for your code, tracks changes. These are Git commands. GitHub is a website that stores your Git repositories online. how they work together. Use Git on your computer to track changes. You push those changes to GitHub, and others can pull your changes from GitHub to their computer. We did some awesome stuff. I'm super proud of us, maybe even more proud than our first video where we actually set up the project and got everything working, which is a huge accomplishment for you if you're following along and doing this stuff too. With vibe coding, very important. You will not get exactly the same thing I do if you run exactly the same commands. So don't expect to, but kind of go with the vibe and kind of expect it to have a slightly different flavor, right? So you might not even be making Catalyst or an accountability buddy. You might be making something totally different, and that's cool. But the concepts of what we're talking about, of talking to Claude Code and using Cursor and using Git and GitHub, and in the next video, we're going to deploy this thing to a real website so we can see this. All of the concepts are the same, and the actual details and specifics might be slightly different, okay? So I hope you're enjoying this. If you are, please like and subscribe. Smash the bell if you want to get notifications. Tell a friend about this, because what I'm hoping to do is kind of demystify a lot of kind of vibe coding stuff with the most powerful development tools with AI right now, which are Cursor and Claude Code. I hope I'm making this kind of approachable to you and everybody who's watching.